Hey there! Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Read and Write Google Toolbar. I want to focus a little bit more on the reading features at this point in time. So where you see me now is on my Chrome browser, and I'm just on a website. I'm looking up information about clouds and precipitation. And what I'd like to do is look at some special features on the Read and Write Google Toolbar, especially designed to help struggling readers. So if I click on this little purple puzzle piece up here in my Chrome extensions tools, I'll get a floating toolbar that appears on the top of my screen. This is the Read and Write Google Toolbar. This is the premium version, and so that is an annual subscription. We'll talk a little bit more later about what some of the availability for these tools are for different individuals, but right now we're looking at the premium version. So if I'm a student who is on this website and I'm a struggling reader, there are some things I can use on this toolbar to help me along. The first thing I want to start with is all the way over here on the right, there's a tool called Simplify Page. So when I click on this tool, what's going to happen is it's going to extract the text that is specific to the topic I'm looking at, and it's going to remove some of the visual clutter for me, clearing up the screen and just providing me with the access to the content that I really need to focus on. I'm going to take my toolbar, I'm going to slide it down here to the bottom of the page for now. Because what I want to do is look up at the top of my browser, and I have a couple of features here that can help me. One is contrast. So for some students, they can come in here and look at what color works better for their readability. We have blue on yellow, black on white, white on black, yellow on blue. Students will most of the time have an opinion, and other times they'll say, you know what, white on black, black on white works for me. Then when we come over here to the left-hand side, we see a couple of simplified tools. So we have a plus and a minus sign. What you'll notice as I click on the minus sign a couple of times is you'll start to see the content shrink. And so here I am just clicking, and I've gone as far as I can. So it's taken all of the content that was there, and it's tried to auto summarize it so that it's leaving me with what it thinks is the most important content. I like to start here with some of my students to build some background knowledge about the longer article that we might read later on. So it's a good way for kids to get a grasp on some of the vocabulary that they'll hear in the longer text. And for some kids, this might be the starting point and the end point to provide them with some specific support about what they're learning in the classroom, okay? After I've simplified the text for myself, I'm going to bring up this toolbar here, and I'm going to use another tool. This is the mask tool. So when I click on the screen mask, what it provides me is a kind of a high-tech reading guide. Those things that we used to use in our classroom still do, in terms of sliding a piece of paper with a hole in it down the book so kids can follow along and track sentences and words a little bit easier. And so I can use this as a way to help me focus on the specific sentences and content that I need. I'm going to come back up here and click on this feature right here. If I still need help reading the words that are on the page, what I can do is highlight or just click play. In my Read and Write Google Toolbar features, there's a play button that allows me to listen
Tiny water droplets or ice crystals is what makes up a cloud. There are 3 basic cloud forms. 1. Stratus clouds. These clouds form in a blanket-like layer. 2.
Okay. Some of these text-to-speech voices, I'm sorry, not some of them, all of them, give you the option to come down here to the right on your toolbar, click the down arrow, options, and then you have some ability to change the voice and the rate of speech. There's even a translation tool that we'll look at in just a few minutes. So if I click on OK, I have that ability to change the rate of speech, especially for kids who have auditory processing issues where they may need to slow down to listen a little bit more closely. Another neat feature allows me to highlight all of the content in really long articles and use the Audio Maker toolbar. By clicking on this feature right here, what happens is you can see the blue line here kind of loading all of the content. On the bottom left-hand side of my web browser, I get a little download. What's happened here is text-to-speech has extracted all of the content and placed it in an audio file for you to download and listen to from your devices later on. This is great for kids who have multi-sensory needs. They might need to view the text and listen to it. So this is a great way for them to get the content later on, even after you've reviewed it with them. Another neat tool is the practice reading aloud. On the right-hand side of your Read and Write for Google toolbar, you have a little picture that looks like someone reading a book. If I'm to click on that and open, what happens is it brings the text along with me, and on the right-hand side, it gives me the opportunity to record a read aloud session. So by clicking on the microphone, it will allow me to read the content aloud and then send it to my teacher to check in, or just to read it aloud and listen back to what it is that I've read. So by hitting start record, you can see that the numbers are going up here, which means it's recording, and I can come over to my content and start reading. Tiny water droplets or ice crystals is what makes up a cloud. There are 3 basic cloud forms. So you can see that I have 15 or 16 seconds of recording. I'm going to hit stop. And what happens is I get a play button where I can listen back to my reading comprehension, or I can share it with my teacher. By sharing it with your teacher sends them an audio file of your recording, and they can listen back. The neat part about this is it allows for independence. It gives kids the opportunity to read aloud to themselves, but teachers still have the opportunity to listen to where some of those mistakes might be occurring, and review it with them at a later time. One other thing I want to share with you is I was recently working with a student who shared something very interesting to me. We were talking about some of the strategies for use with text-to-speech because she's not a big fan of the computerized voice. And so I wanted her to understand that she could try to read the words that she knows how to, and when she gets stuck or she's struggling, to then use the text-to-speech tool to just read that one word. I think we often take that for granted, but what's really important is to share with students that they need to make the technology work for them, and that doesn't need to be dictated in a specific way. But we want to empower them that if they want to read the words themselves, that they do that and use the tool when they see that it can be powerful for them. So she ended up highlighting her text and turning off the sound in her computer so that when it started reading to her, it just highlighted, and she used the blue highlight to read the words aloud to herself. When she got stuck on a word, she hit pause and then came here to just listen to it aloud when she was ready. And I thought that was a really neat way to do it, so I wanted to share that with you as well.